Uncle Roddus back again with another vinyl video. Alrighty. Okay, hey, look at this behind me. You can see there's a different amplifier up there at the moment. That's my other tube amp that has been out of service for a couple of years because the tubes were pretty much buggered on them, which was surprising because I only used it for a couple of years before I upgraded, so to speak, to the other amp underneath it. But it was still, usable, but the tubes wouldn't bias properly, so I bought some new tubes. I did have to get the volume control sorted out because it was making a lot of crackling, and it's still doing it a little bit, but when it heats up it's not really an issue. It sounds like they can't do much more with it. I'd have to replace the whole bloody thing. I'm not too worried about that. That's a Doge Prima Donna 88 amplifier. That was the first of the tube amps. Sorry, the first of the main tube amps. I have a little one over there as well, which I've talked about in the past. Anyway, it runs on KT88 tubes, and I've upgraded to 150s. Now, I can't really do that with my other amp, as in like a power upgrade. I can change tubes in two different brands, but I can't basically change the power tubes to anything different apart from the 845s. These ones, this amp, you can upgrade from a KT88 to a KT120, which I've done. So they're a tongue sole KT120, which seems to be the only brand or only manufacturer that are making 120s. There were some other ones, I understood, the Sylvain ones, which I was really keen to get my hands on because that's what I run in my other amp, and they're really good. Anyway, so I had to, go ahead and buy them. But wow, what a huge upscaling, really, for the amount of money I spent. That is probably one of the biggest improvements I've made on my hi-fi gear. And that amp is just incredible. So it certainly, it gave me a lot more power to play with, obviously, from 150 to from 88s to 120s. There are 150s and even 170s I've heard in the KT range, but obviously I couldn't do that. The amp wouldn't be equipped to do that and handle those. But these work fine, and they have given me. This thing can be rebiased into 3 power settings, but I'm only on a 30 watt class A setting, and I don't need to change it. This gives me more than enough volume. Especially on CDs, and it's expanded the sound stage, and it's given me a little bit more depth to the music, and that, the clarity of it maybe is not a lot different than what I had on the old tubes and on the other amp, but I'm definitely noticing that the separation is really good, a lot of detail. Fantastic upgrade, and it only cost me $400 for the tubes, so that was probably one of the best upgrades I can do on my system, apart from buying new peripherals and stuff. So anyway, on to the vinyl, because that's what we're here for. The vinyl, the enforced the voluntary vinyl drought, no purchasing of new records isn't going very well, but I still have funds, and it's not like I'm not actually paying the extra payments that I was intending to on the mortgage, so that's actually all in hand. So I'm not being that naughty, but I am buying a few more records than I intended, and part of the reason is because some of them that turned up out there I really could not turn down. Now this one here just arrived today. It's what's playing behind us in the background. This is a compilation of New Zealand post-punky stuff from around about 1980. I'm pretty sure it says here mixed at Sausage Studios in October 1980. So the album must have came out maybe in early 81. So this is a very rare and sought after compilation in New Zealand, and copies are going for $300 to $500 locally, and there is one on trade on Discogs that they're trying to sell for 1,300 New Zealand dollars, but that's a little bit over the top. So this is a reissue, but it is unofficial, so it is sort of a bootleg, unfortunately. It's on Swinikin Recordings, so I think it was out of Finland or something like that. Netherlands, sorry. So this actually came via a label that I've got a lot of records that do a lot of New Zealand stuff. God, which one was it? Still Breeze? I think it was. So they got hold of some copies and put them up on their Bandcamp, so I managed to snaffle a copy before they disappeared. Now, it sounds really good sonically, so I don't know where they sourced the tapes from, but like I do, I understand this is unofficial. So there are 4 bands here. Life in the Fridge Exists, which was the first track we heard. The Wall Sockets, which maybe is the track we're listening to now. Naked Spots Dance and Beat Rhythm Fashion. Now all of those bands are very rare and hard to get hold of. I have seen records, there are some EPs around, but Naked Spots Dance, Beat Rhythm Fashion, I have seen records in the past, but not for a long time. Anyway, I'm really enjoying this, really good. So I didn't know whether it was going to turn up because I never got a shipping notice, I never knew anything about it. It's taken several months to get here. The guy that was selling them on Bandcamp was not very communicative in telling us what was happening, but there was quite a few people on Facebook that bought copies, and it sounds like they're dribbling in now, so I'm really stoked to get that because I can't afford to pay several $100s for a copy of that. Okay, so some others that I've had to jump on. That's the other week I decided at the end of the day I needed to pick up some of these new releases before they disappeared out of flying out. So we got the new Pumice album Table. Now this, I knew this was coming out. It had been released on Bandcamp last year. To buy it from Bandcamp means we had to bring it from the States, and it was going to cost an exorbitant amount on postage. So I just waited to see, and it did turn up here in Flying Out. So I jumped in Flying Out and spent a whole lot of money I shouldn't have on a bunch of new releases that I really wanted to get before they disappeared, and this is one of them. I've shown Pumice before. This is New Zealand underground, lo-fi, weird, noisy sort of stuff. Another one I jumped on that, and with that purchase from Flying Out is a reissue of Graham Jeffries. Now I think this is his very first solo record that he put out in the 80s, 1987 to be exact, and after Nocturnal Projections and that, and the message for the Cake Kitchen. Now, so this is a solo record under his name, as you can see, but the Cake Kitchen is what he actually puts his music out under nowadays, and as a matter of fact the Cake Kitchen released the record only just late last year, which I showed in an earlier video, maybe, if I haven't posted it already. If I might still be sitting on my computer, I have a big backlog. It is actually the end of March and you're not going to see this video for several months, but anyway. So yeah, reissue of his first LP. So that's cool. I'm not really sure how rare his first record is. It's, but not easy to get your hands on. Then two reissues that just turned up today. That I didn't actually pay for these with this year's funds, so I got a refund because they couldn't supply a record I ordered well before Christmas, so they refunded me. And then they sent me a note yesterday, email saying, oh, we have this record back in stock now, after they told me that they couldn't get it back in stock and gave me my money back. So they're lost because I bought it somewhere else. The Clean. This was The Clean's last LP from 2009. I don't think they've released anything since this. Mr. Pop, it wasn't ever put out on vinyl from a quick look on Discog, so this is actually the first vinyl issue, and it's on this really cool green marble sort of vinyl. Now, I understand that these coloured variants are only available here in New Zealand. So I'm sorry guys overseas, but you're shit out of luck, you're just going to have to go for the black ones. But I'm not sure why that is, but this is on Merge Records. Now Merge did do this originally, I believe. But like I say, I think it's only CD, it was only CD, so first time on vinyl. But yes, it is available in black overseas. And then this one here, same thing, another Merge reissue from 1996. The Clean's Unknown Country. Again, this is a New Zealand exclusive limited edition on the blue vinyl. There she blows. So yep, that's pretty cool. So I did, I'm not always that quick enough to get on the coloured variants, but this time I did, and well, because they were New Zealand only. So that's pretty damn cool too. So I'm really pleased to have those. I do have a lot of the tracks off those records on the Anthologies box set, but it's nice to have their whole albums. You know, the Clean are a seminal New Zealand band, not just for me, but for lots of people in the Flying Nun scene and everything. But you know, when I was 14 years old and they played the video of Beatnik on Radio Pictures, that really blew my mind. And even though I wasn't a huge New Zealand fan, I did get into a fair bit of New Zealand music back then. And finally, no, not finally, another one I picked up from that purchase. Hang on, let's see. Okay, this is Pat Krause, or as a known, just calls himself Krause. This is his latest record, new LP. He doesn't always release stuff on vinyl. A lot of it goes only on cassette, and a lot of it just on downloads. But he's put another one out on vinyl. For some strange reason, this is listed as a reissue on Discogs, and I don't know why, but maybe because it came out digitally and then they consider the vinyl a reissue. I don't. Anyway, so more lo-fi weirdness from our friend Pat, and he's a great musician. He writes some interesting music, and you know, it might be underground and weird, but it's actually got a lot of melody to it, and it's really cool. I always buy this lady's records now, and this is her latest. It's only just come out a couple of weeks ago. Sarah Mary Chadwick, Me and Inui, a Friend's Baby. The date of release is actually last year, but it was released online on Bandcamp. Bit of a dodgy cover again, but she does dodgy covers like that. She's a very, she's a very interesting lady. She really lets it all hang out on her records. I mean, all of her demons, you might say, and this can be pretty depressing listening, but it makes great art. I think I made the comment on Facebook, it's a bit sad sometimes what some artists actually go through emotionally to make great art. I mean, if she wasn't so fucked up, would she still make his music as good as this? I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, there was a suicide attempt either during the making of this record or prior to it, and she actually mentions that in a song. I'm not quite sure which song it was. There was an interview on Rolling Stone online with her, because I was wondering whether or not the stuff that she sings about was real for her, or whether she was just making it up as part of her art. Or whether she was living it. It sounds like she's living it, and I feel pretty empathetic towards her. Obviously, she's had a very hard life, but she's somehow risen above it to make great music and great art. I don't know about great art. She is an artist. She paints, and she does prints and limited prints. There were a lot of limited prints put up on her website, on her Bandcamp, and they were selling for like $400 or $500 each, but they were very pornographic. She does a lot of that pornographic art. I don't know. She's a very interesting woman in that. This is very sparse record, very laid back, stripped bare piano, maybe a bit of guitaring and that on it, and then her mournful vocals, and she's got a very unusual voice. And then finally, I had to jump on this. I shouldn't have brought this. This is another naughty purchase, along with some others that are coming from Bandcamp suppliers. But this is the latest volume of the J-Jazz series from BBE Records, and apparently BBE Records stands for barely breaking even, or something to that effect. Saying that they have a pretty big catalogue of stuff on their site. So this is the third volume. I do have the other two volumes. I didn't really need to buy this, but I don't know. The other ones I have said, and I showed them, and I thought in some ways they're really, really good, but they were a little bit underwhelming, and the jazz was pretty straight ahead. Some of this comes into the same, but actually, one side in particular, and I think it was side D, there was some really fucking awesome stuff on there that really made me stand up and take notice. One particular really funky sort of jazzy funk thing. So, I think, like I say, the playing is really, really good. The music's bloody good, but it's I reckon it's pretty derivative. It doesn't sound like anything out of the ordinary for jazz, and so you wouldn't really know it was coming from Japan per se, perhaps. It's a little bit like New Zealand jazz. In some ways, a lot of the rattle stuff's a bit like that. It's really good jazz, but it's just jazz. It's just straight ahead jazz. There's nothing unusual happening or revolutionary. It's just good jazz. I like this one the best so far, and I need to get more familiar with it. But what really has pricked my ears up is the spiritual jazz compilations on. I can't even remember the name of the label, and I know some people have showed them on some other YouTube videos that I've seen, and they're up to 13 volumes now, and I've only managed to get a couple of them so far off their Bandcamp, and unfortunately all the rest of them are sold out, but I could dig deeper on the Discogs and try and get some if I wanted to. Anyway, I got 4 of those volumes on the way, winging to move away from the UK, so hopefully they'll be here in the next few weeks. And I'm still waiting on the International Anthem stuff, and I'm still waiting on the Gordon's reissue. So there's another video coming yet, which will probably get posted by the middle of the year, maybe. Anyway, that's me. I'm gonna go and I've cleaned all these, and now I'm gonna go and play them again. And some of them I haven't played yet. So happy vinyl hunting and whatever. See you next time. Cheers.